The crash and the crown Marcus wiped the sweat from his forehead as he guided his salvage ship through the twisted metal graveyard that was Sector 7. The asteroid field stretched endlessly in all directions, filled with the remains of countless vessels that had met their fate among the spinning rocks. His cargo hold was already half full with scrap metal and discarded tech components, but something about today felt different. The scanner beeped frantically, indicating a fresh energy signature. Marcus leaned forward, squinting at the display. Whatever had crashed here was recent, maybe within the last few hours. Steam still rose from the wreckage, creating ghostly wisps in the vacuum that his ship's sensors translated into thermal readings. "Well, looks like Christmas came early," Marcus muttered to himself, adjusting course toward the debris field. He'd been working the salvage routes for 3 years now, ever since losing his job at the Terra Mining Corporation. It wasn't glamorous work, but it kept food on the table and fuel in his tanks. The wreckage came into view through his cockpit window, and Marcus felt his breath catch. This wasn't some rust bucket freighter or outdated patrol ship. The hull gleamed, with an oily rainbow sheen that seemed to shift and move in the starlight. Intricate patterns covered the surface, too complex and beautiful to be anything human-made. Marcus docked his ship carefully, magnetic clamps securing to what remained of the alien vessel's outer hull. He pulled on his environmental suit, double-checking the seals before cycling through the airlock. The interior of the alien ship was like stepping into a fever dream. Curved walls pulsed with a faint blue light, and the air tasted electric on, his tongue even through the suit's filters. He made his way deeper into the vessel, following the signs of recent damage. Crystalline panels lay shattered on the floor, their surfaces still crackling with residual energy. The further he went, the more obvious it became that this wasn't just a crash. Someone had been fighting here. A soft groan echoed from somewhere ahead. Marcus froze, hand instinctively moving to the plasma cutter on his belt. He wasn't exactly equipped for combat, but he'd learned to be cautious in his line of work. Pirates and claim jumpers weren't uncommon in the outer sectors. Following the sound, Marcus found himself in what appeared to be the ship's command center. Banks of alien controls lined the walls, most of them dark and lifeless. In the center of the room, pinned beneath a fallen support beam, lay a figure in form-fitting armor that seemed to be made of liquid starlight. The being's helmet had cracked, revealing features that were distinctly feminine but clearly not human. Her skin had a pale, almost luminescent quality, and her hair fell in waves of silver and blue. Even unconscious and injured, there was something regal about her bearing. Marcus knelt beside her, carefully checking for obvious injuries. The support beam had her trapped from the waist down, but she was breathing. Her eyes fluttered open as he worked to free her, revealing irises that swirled like miniature galaxies. "Easy there," Marcus said, his voice gentle despite the translator's mechanical rendering. "I'm going to get you out of here." She tried to speak, but only managed a weak whisper in a language that sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. The translator in Marcus's suit struggled for a moment before rendering her words into English. You came," she said, her voice carrying an accent that reminded him of distant thunder. I thought I would die here alone." Marcus managed to leverage the beam enough to pull her free. She was lighter than he'd expected, and he was surprised by how human she felt in his arms. "What happened here? Who did this to you?" Her expression darkened, and for a moment, Marcus saw steel beneath the apparent fragility. "My brother," she said simply. "Vorthon has taken the throne by force. My loyal guards. They gave their lives to help me escape." As if summoned by her words, the sound of approaching engines echoed through the asteroid field. Marcus looked up to see sleek predatory shapes emerging from behind the larger rocks. The ships were clearly of the same design as the crashed vessel, but their hulls were painted with harsh, angular symbols that spoke of military authority. Those are Vorthons. Hunters, the alien woman said, struggling to sit up. They've found me. Marcus helped her to her feet, his mind racing. Can this ship fly? She shook her head sadly. The core is cracked. Even if we could repair it, we would never outrun them in something this damaged. The lead hunter ship was broadcasting something, the translator rendering the harsh commands into English. Princess Zephyra of House Valonian, you will surrender yourself immediately. Resistance is futile. Marcus looked at the woman beside him with new understanding. Your royalty. Princess Zephyra straightened, and despite her injuries, Marcus could see the bearing of someone born to command. I am the rightful heir to the Valonian Empire, she said, though I fear that title may die with me today. The hunter ships were moving closer, their weapons charging with an ominous whine. Marcus made a decision that would change his life forever. Not if I have anything to say about it. He activated his ship's communication system, broadcasting on all frequencies. This is Marcus Chen aboard the salvage vessel Lucky Strike. I'm claiming salvage rights on this vessel and everything aboard it, including any passengers, under Section 12 of the Neutral Zone Salvage Accords. The response from the lead hunter was immediate and hostile. Human, you interfere in matters beyond your understanding. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. Marcus grinned, though he knew the alien couldn't see it through his helmet. I understand perfectly. This is legally salvaged cargo in neutral space. You want it. You'll have to take it from me. What happened next surprised everyone, including Marcus himself. The space around them suddenly filled with ships, but not more hunters. These vessels were older, more diverse in design, and they moved, with the coordination of a well-trained fleet. A new voice crackled over the communication channel, speaking in the same melodic language as Princess Zephyra. The translator rendered the words with obvious respect and formality. This is Admiral Corvain of the Valonian Free Fleet. We have come for our princess. Princess Zephyra's eyes widened. Corvain? You survived the purge? Many of us survived. Your Highness, the Admiral replied. We have been waiting, preparing. The fleet stands ready to restore you to your rightful place. Marcus watched in amazement as nearly 50 alien warships took defensive positions around his small salvage vessel. The hunter ships, suddenly outnumbered, began to withdraw toward the edge of the asteroid field. Princess Zephyra turned to Marcus, her expression serious. You saved my life when you could have simply taken what you wanted and left. That speaks to a nobility of spirit that is rare in any species. Before Marcus could respond, she continued. I hereby name you Admiral Marcus Chen, Supreme Commander of the Valonian Free Fleet. Your word shall be law, your judgment absolute. Marcus felt his knees go weak. Wait, what? I'm just a salvage operator. I don't know anything about commanding fleets or fighting wars. Admiral Corvain's voice came over the channel again. If Princess Zephyra has chosen you, then you have already proven yourself worthy. We await your orders, Commander. Marcus looked out at the assembled fleet, then back at Princess Zephyra. Her expression was hopeful, but determined, and he realized that she wasn't just asking him to help her reclaim a throne. She was asking him to help free an entire civilization. The hunter ships were regrouping at the edge of the system, no doubt, calling for reinforcements. Whatever decision Marcus made, he had to make it quickly. He took a deep breath and activated the fleet-wide communication channel. All ships, this is Admiral Chen. Princess Zephyra is under my protection, and by extension, so are all of you. If Prince Vorthon wants a fight, then let's give him one he won't forget. The response from the fleet was immediate and thunderous. Voices in dozens of different dialects cheered and shouted approval, the translator struggling to keep up with the flood of languages. Princess Zephyra smiled, and Marcus felt something shift in his chest. This wasn't just about salvage rights anymore. This was about something bigger than himself, bigger than profit or survival. This was about standing up for what was right, even when the odds seemed impossible. The battle for the stars, the war council aboard Admiral Corvain's flagship, felt like something out of a dream to Marcus. The chamber was vast, with holographic displays showing star charts and fleet positions floating in the air around a circular table. Alien officers in ceremonial armor stood at attention as Princess Zephyra outlined the tactical situation. "Vorthon has consolidated most of the Imperial fleet at the capital system," she explained, gesturing to a cluster of red dots on the display. "He knows we cannot match his numbers in a direct assault." Marcus studied the hologram, his salvager's instincts for problem-solving kicking in. "What about supply lines? Even the biggest fleet needs fuel and ammunition." Admiral Corvain, a grizzled veteran whose scarred face spoke of countless battles, nodded approvingly. "The human thinks like a warrior. Vorthon's forces rely on supply, convoys from the industrial worlds in the outer reach." "Then that's where we hit him," Marcus said, surprised by his own confidence. "We cut off his supplies, force him to come to us on our terms." Princess Zephyra leaned forward, her eyes bright with interest. "It could work, but Vorthan will expect such tactics. He studied every military campaign in our history," Arcsury grinned. "Good thing I'm not in your history books, then. Where I come from, we learned to fight dirty when we had to." Over the next several hours, Marcus found himself explaining human guerrilla tactics to a room full of alien military officers. The concepts of hit-and-run attacks, false retreats, and using the enemy's size against them were foreign to the Valonian military tradition, which emphasized honor and direct confrontation. "You're suggesting we behave like pirates," one of the younger officers protested. "I'm suggesting we behave like survivors," Marcus replied. "Honor doesn't mean much if you're dead." Princess Zephyra raised her hand, silencing the debate. "Admiral Chen's methods may be unconventional, but they offer us something we haven't had before: hope. We will implement his strategy." The first strike came 3 days later. Marcus led a small squadron of fast attack ships against a supply convoy bound for Vorthon's fleet. The Valonian pilots were initially skeptical of taking orders from a human, but Marcus's unconventional tactics proved devastatingly effective. Instead of the traditional frontal assault, they struck from multiple directions at once, using the convoy's own escort ships as cover. Within minutes, the supply vessels were disabled and their cargo captured. The escort ships, confused by the unorthodox attack pattern, were scattered before they could mount an effective defense. "Impossible," Admiral Corvain breathed as he watched the battle footage. "You disabled twice your number without losing a single ship." Marcus shrugged, though inside he was amazed by how well the alien ships had responded to his commands. Sometimes, the best way to win a fight is to not fight fair. Word of the victory spread quickly through the Free Fleet, and Marcus found his reputation growing with each successful raid. Princess Zephyra seemed pleased by the progress, but he could see the weight of responsibility wearing on her. She spent long hours in meditation, preparing for what everyone knew would be an inevitable confrontation with her brother. The final battle came sooner than expected. Vorthan, frustrated by the supply raids and growing unrest in his empire, assembled a massive armada and set course for the Free Fleet's hidden base in the Nebula of Whispers. "He's bringing everything," Admiral Corvain reported grimly. "Over 300 ships, including the Imperial dreadnoughts." Marcus stared at the tactical display, his mind racing. The Free Fleet numbered barely 60 vessels, most of them older, ships crewed by volunteers and refugees. Against Vorthon's armada, they wouldn't last 10 minutes in a conventional battle. "There might be another way," Princess Zephyra said quietly. "The ancient weapon caches." The room fell silent. Admiral Corvain looked shocked. "Your Highness, those sites are forbidden. The weapons there, they were sealed away for good reason." "What kind of weapons?" Marcus asked. Princess Zephyra's expression was troubled. "Artifacts from the old empire, from the time before we learned wisdom. Planet killers, reality warpers, devices that could tear holes in space itself. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. And you know where they are? I am the heir to the throne, she said simply. The locations are part of the royal inheritance, passed down through the bloodline. The debate that followed was heated. Many of the officers argued that using such weapons would make them no better than Vorthon. Others pointed out that defeat would mean the extinction of everything they were fighting for. In the end, it was Marcus who proposed the compromise. We don't have to use the weapons, he said. We just have to make Vorthon think we will. The plan was audacious in its simplicity. While the main fleet engaged Vorthon's armada in what appeared to be a desperate last stand, Marcus would take a small team to one of the weapon caches. They would broadcast activation sequences on all frequencies, making it appear that they were preparing to deploy planet-killing technology. The battle began at dawn, ship time. Vorthon's armada emerged from hyperspace like a steel storm, their formation perfect and intimidating. The Free Fleet met them at the edge of the nebula, their smaller ships darting between the larger Imperial vessels like angry insects. Marcus, meanwhile, piloted a stealth ship toward the ancient cache, hidden within a hollow asteroid. Princess Zephyra sat beside him, her fingers dancing over alien controls as she input the access codes that had been locked in her memory since childhood. The cache was a marvel of ancient engineering, its chambers filled with devices that hummed with barely contained power. Marcus activated the broadband transmitter while Princess Zephyra began the startup sequences for a device that looked like a crystalline flower made of pure energy. This is Admiral Chen to all vessels, Marcus broadcast, beginning activation of the Sunfire Protocol in 60 seconds. The effect was immediate. The Imperial fleet's perfect formation began to waver as ships pulled back from the front lines. Even Vorthon's voice crackled over the communication channels, demanding to know if Marcus was bluffing. You wouldn't dare! Prince Vorthon's voice was filled with rage and uncertainty. The weapon would destroy everything in this system, including your own forces. Marcus looked at Princess Zephyra, who nodded solemnly. Sometimes, Marcus replied, you have to be willing to lose everything to save what matters most. The standoff lasted for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes. Then, unexpectedly, ships began defecting from Vorthon's fleet. First a few escorts, then entire squadrons, as the Imperial crews realized they were being asked to participate in the potential destruction of their own worlds. When Prince Vorthon's own flagship was surrounded by his former allies, the battle was effectively over. The tyrant prince surrendered rather than face a firing squad of his own officers. Princess Zephyra's coronation took place a month later aboard the restored Imperial flagship. Marcus stood at her side as she accepted the crown of her ancestors, feeling oddly out of place in the ceremonial uniform they'd insisted he wear. You could stay, she said to him quietly during the celebration. The Empire needs leaders like you. Marcus looked out at the stars beyond the viewport, then back at the woman who had become both friend and ally. I think you've got this handled, he said with a smile. Besides, there's a whole galaxy out there full of people who might need help. Seems like I've gotten pretty good at this hero thing. Princess Zephyra, now Empress Zephyra, smiled back. The Valonian Empire will remember what you've done for us, Marcus Chen. You'll always have allies among the stars. As Marcus prepared to leave, he reflected on how much his life had changed. He'd started as a simple salvage operator looking for scrap metal and ended up as the admiral who helped free an entire civilization. It wasn't the life he'd planned, but it was the life he'd chosen. The galaxy was vast and full of mysteries, and Marcus had discovered he had a taste for adventure. Somewhere out there, other people probably needed help, other causes worth fighting for. He climbed into his ship, now upgraded with the best technology the Valonian Empire could provide, and set course for the unknown. Behind him, the lights of the Imperial fleet faded into the distance, but ahead lay infinite possibilities. The stars were calling, and Admiral Marcus Chen was ready to answer.